That's awesome. Anybody ever experience healing from food? I'm going to raise both my hands and my leg. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, and we have the specialists with us. They make food yummy and healing too. Okay, I just love working with the South Texas Healthy Teaching Kitchen. And I just want to give a shout out to their coordinator, Tamara Sugarick. She is a behind the scenes maven. She's working on getting grants. She works behind the scenes to make things great for our veterans. She has an incredible staff and she never really wants to get recognized. But Tamara, I just have to. You are absolutely phenomenal and incredible. It's an honor to be your colleague and work with you. Okay, today from our Healthy Teaching Kitchen staff, we have Chef Stephanie. Chef Stephanie, uh, Ms. Lane comes from a military family. Her work is deeply personal. Her parents retired from the Air Force, and she now serves our veterans. She studied at the Culinary Institute of America, where she earned her culinary degree, and she obtained her nutrition degree from the University of Incarnate Word. She's studied under great chefs. She's an amazing chef, an amazing teacher, and I'm really excited for you to learn from her. And today with her is Richard Gonzalez. He is one of our home-based primary care dietitians. He's a certified personal trainer, certified sports nutrition specialist, and he used to work for Lackland Air Force Base. Thank you both so much for serving our veterans and for showing us how food is medicine. Welcome. Let me stop sharing here. Go ahead, take it away.
All right. Well, we're so excited to be with you guys today. And Carla, you couldn't have said it better. Food is truly medicine. And it begins and ends with what we choose to put in our bodies. Today, I've got a really nice spread for you. I'm going to start with my lemon vinaigrette. And I think this is such a big one. Um, because you go to stores, we all are living these daily lives where they're rather busy, so it's a very knee-jerk reaction to go to the store and purchase something, but why not make it? We are truly in the season of spring, right? It's been raining a lot, and everything is in bloom, from fresh herbs to root vegetables, and so I'm going to really get to showcase that today. So any good dressing, um, it starts with your aromatics. I do this almost every class, but it's really the foundation of flavor. Garlic is so unique because it's got layers of flavor, right? It's aromatic for a reason. We smell it on arrival. But it really comes down to how we utilize it. And this is where the Healthy Teaching Kitchen really comes into play, because taking the time to smash garlic, you're really being intentional as far as activating the enzymes, but you get a lot of that nutrition from it in its raw state here.
As far as like the benefits, it is a vasodilator, which actually helps open up those arteries for better blood flow. It helps lower blood pressure as well.
And it's so important because I think, every dressing that I think I've ever picked up, we always see what? Salt.
Yes.
You do not need
Yes.
salt in large doses. Salt is fantastic because it allows you to taste everything you intentionally added. But the rule here is less is more.
Yeah.
So I started here with one clove, large clove of garlic. You can use two or three if they're small. Then I'm going to overlap that with one of my absolute favorite salt satisfiers. This is thyme. It's very citrus forward. You see it a lot in the fall, but this is also the time to get it. And I love this because due to that mineral content that you find in things like thyme, rosemary, dill, it brings all that salt to the forefront in a natural way.
See, I'm all with you except for the dill. Remember that one?
Oh
We
my
had one. We
gosh,
had one
yes.
class. We had one class, and she's like, I'm like, I don't like dill. But this is the beauty about Stephanie is that she adds it, but she kind of hides it as well, so it wasn't as overpowering.
That's
But
right.
I'm all with you though with the thyme and the rosemary. These are things that I actually incorporate myself when I'm like
Yeah.
adding like a dressing, or honestly, it smells like Thanksgiving dinner.
It really does.
Yep.
And like the first thing, even when I smash the garlic, you smell that salt, right? These are the foundations, that butter, because the whole purpose of us eating is what, right? You want to enjoy what you're eating.
Oh,
You want
yeah.
to reach that feeling of satiety.
Food should taste good,
Yeah.
right? Because that's the purpose of it. But yeah, obviously less salt, and that's important for us because we know that too much salt in a diet increases blood pressure, and
Yeah.
blood pressure is a marker for heart disease,
Yeah.
right? So it's very important not to overdo it on the salt.
Yeah, and I think, I see it all the time. You've got all these wonderful concentrated spices in your pantry, but maybe you're using very small amounts of it.
Mhm.
And we're going to talk about that when I get to protein. But lean heavily into those, right? We're not trying to compromise flavor,
No,
right?
absolutely not. Nope. And then what is this?
So this is my Dijon, and this for me is all the things because I get a vinaigrette, and it's almost always has some variations of like it's separated. There is no emulsification. This is very much going to lean into that salt without me directly adding salt, right? Dijon is unique because of the region, but it's got that overlap of like the champagne vinegar, the black and brown mustard seeds.
Yes.
One question I get a lot, if horseradish is an issue, Dijon does not have that unless you purchase one that has that horseradish component. But the main point is it's going to coat whatever vegetable you add to it.
And it has a little bit of a kick to it, right?
It does.
Because I remember the first time I had like Dijon was, you remember Grey Poupon?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I grew up as a kid and I watched the commercials, and I always thought you had to be rich to afford Grey Poupon.
Yes, yes, the food politics.
But
yes.
let me tell you though, ever since like spicy brown mustard or Dijon mustard, I can't go back to just like a regular plain mustard. Like the flavor is just so much better.
It's like that nice elevation. But for me, it's all the things so I can lean heavily into the salt satisfiers I was referencing. So I've got my garlic, my thyme, my Dijon. Now I need that sweet component. Anytime you're cooking, you want that sweet, that salty, that bitter, a little bit of that umami, and sometimes that spicy, because again, you want to be satisfied.
Oh yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
that depth of flavor is imperative. So now I've got my honey here. If you're doing honey or maple, like a pure Vermont maple, you want to use less, right?
Yeah.
Honey, less is more. So I will lean into roughly 1 to 2 teaspoons.
And I love just talking on honey for a minute because a lot of us are afraid to use sugar in their recipes, right? Because you hear a lot of you want to limit sugar, you don't need sugar, avoid sugar, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, with the rise of social media, there's a lot of influencers, and they think that just because you eat, you're a nutrition expert. No, that's just not the case, right?
Yeah.
So we need sugar, right? With sugar, our body works exclusively on glucose, which is blood sugar. Our brain works on glucose, our muscles, our organs, right? There is a little bit of truth in that as far as when you want to reduce your sugar, you want to reduce the amount of added sugar. Absolutely. We usually recommend no more than 10% of your total calories should come from added sugars, but there's absolutely no reason not to have sugar at all in your diet because your body actually needs it. So I love that you add honey
I
to
love
this.
that you said that because that is probably the biggest thing we get asked
Yep.
here. All right, so I've added in my honey, and now I'm going to add in my healthy fat. And anytime you're making a dressing, this is so important. And I'm only using a 1/4 cup here. Avocado, grapeseed, extra virgin olive oil. This is a beautiful way to utilize extra virgin olive oil. And look at that.
Yeah.
That is fully emulsified, blended well. It's going to stay like this. It's going to coat whatever vegetable you have here.
And it's a healthy fat too, right?
It's a healthy fat.
We talk about we need fats from diet, but we need those healthy fats. So unsaturated, polyunsaturated fats, sources like oils, olive oil, canola oil, sapphire oil, avocado oil, even fatty fish like salmon,
Yes.
tuna, right? Nuts, seeds. These are all really good sources of those omega-3s, omega-6 fatty acids. We know that I can't speak. Implementing this in your diet
Yes.
actually helps reduce those inflammation markers for heart disease, but they're also brain protective as well. So definitely you always want to make the switch from like those saturated fats. Those are those fats that are really solid at room temperature. So like those that marbling around meats, full fat cheeses, full fat milk. You don't need that. You really want more of those liquid fats at room temperature.
And I think that's so important because people go into stores and with what I like to classify as food politics, they're confused as to which ones are best ones to
So
utilize.
much misinformation online, right?
Exactly. So we've got our dressing done, and this where you can really get creative. Recipes, they are not a rubric. They are a template for you to expand, especially when it comes to food specifically. So I reference, April is very much spring forward, all about leaning into cleansing the body, right? Eating for the season means several different things, right? We're going into fall. We tend to eat heavier. As spring approaches, we do need to lighten up our load, right? It's all about hydrating, gearing up for summer,
Yes.
right? Eating those foods that are going to help to naturally detox the body, because I think there's this overemphasis of we switch seasons and we're looking for all these various supplements when it starts here.
Absolutely. And you said it, like the word detox, right? Like
Yes.
that's just, we don't use that word in my profession because our body does that automatically, naturally. Our lungs, our kidneys detox our body naturally. Things like this, like what we have here is spinach, which is obviously a dark green, very high in vitamin K, which is very important for blood clotting. But we also have chickpeas.
Yes.
So chickpeas, garbanzo beans, right?
Yes, same.
Very good sources of plant-based protein.
That's it. And I think that's the key, those nutrient-dense foods. We used spinach here. You could use asparagus. I reference, having it shaved. It acts as like that natural, like tonic for the body,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it overlaps with everything he was saying. Utilize your foods rather than purchasing, various supplements. And now I'm going to overlap that with a little bit of shredded carrots here. This is my go-to, right? You want to add that peppery component. Maybe you're that person that doesn't, lean heavily into like cayennes or serranos. I feel like radishes are underutilized.
See, you're throwing me out for a bus underneath the bus right now because of the radishes.
Oh,
I like
no.
radishes. Don't get me wrong, because last time I was with you, you had pickled beets. Remember that?
Yes.
And I'm like, I got like traumatized with like pickled beets as a kid. I think it was just because I was forced to eat it as a kid.
And that's been like the general consensus
Right. But
with
again,
everyone.
with your magic and how you whip everything together, you didn't really taste it. So it was really delicious. It was like a beet salad.
Yes.
But with radishes are going to go, again, very colorful, right? Antioxidants, which help get rid of those free radicals, kind of help reduce those cancer cells from multiplying. And again, carrots as well, very colorful, very good for pigmentation, but also very good for your eyes. You know what I mean? Like that's the reason why Bugs Bunny, my dad said there's a reason Bugs Bunny never wore glasses. It's because he ate carrots all the time.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I always remember that.
And notice everything we have here has lots of color. There's a reason to eat the rainbow. Every food serves a different purpose. Our bodies are like cars, right? We
Yeah.
have to fuel them differently.
Oh yes, I'm all about if I can afford it, I want the premium oil,
All
not
day.
the unleaded, or sometimes even diesel. Right? Our food should be
Yeah.
like that. You want to fuel your body appropriately.
Absolutely. And I mean, and the same applies here. I mean, I'm adding onions. Red onions, they love to be the main character. They're very intense, right? But they've got those beautiful purple hues. There's a reason for that. If you don't love the red onions, do a shallot, all within that same beautiful, intense violet color. But get creative with what you add to your food. So I've got all of my ingredients here ready to go. I'm going to go ahead, plate this up. And I mean, look at all these colors here. If you're like, no, I am not a fan of red onions, pickle them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. Pickled onions is fine. Pickled beans I have a problem with, but pickled onions is fine. But this is, just look how beautiful this is, though. Like we said, you want to eat the rainbow, not taste the rainbow, because that's Skittles, right? But
Yes.
whenever you have color, it also means that you're getting different nutrients, different phytochemicals, right? Antioxidants. I mean, it's really what your body needs, and you're not lacking anything.
No, you're not. And then keep adding layers to that, right? If you didn't do the chickpeas or garbanzo beans, same. Add some quinoa here. What is the thread through everything we're doing? Whole foods,
Yes.
right? We're getting that fiber, we're getting that protein, we're going to reach that level of satiety, but it's going to do all this beautiful magic within our body without you adding any extra supplements.
Absolutely.
And just because I'm a texture person, I went ahead and toasted off some almonds. And so this is just my added layer here.
The first time I had toasted almonds was right here.
What?
HTK.
I
know, I
love
kid you not. I
this.
kid you not. And again, almonds, healthy fats,
Yes.
plant-based proteins. Like this, what I love about this, as I said, it's not missing anything. You've got carbs,
Yeah.
you got proteins, you've got fats. So even if you are, let's say, vegan, vegetarian,
Yeah.
you're not missing anything.
You're really not.
Good.
And even with the radishes, if you're still on the fence, what do you do in place of that? Do some jicama. The rule is, trying to flip it for same or similar nutritional value, because how I'm creating this is subjective. Utilize what you have and start doing your due diligence. Green for green, like I said, the spinach, asparagus, romaine, arugula. This is the season for all those beautiful leafy greens. And then I've got my dressing, which is still beautifully emulsified. This is it. And I did top this off with a little bit of feta cheese. Notice I didn't add any other salt, right? We were leaning heavily into the garlic, right? Foundation, our thyme. Then I added the Dijon and then hit it with a little bit of that brininess of the feta. You could do a goat cheese, manchego, or completely eliminate it. And with the chickpeas, I did add a little bit of smoked paprika. That's what I like to reference as the healthy crouton.
You have so much flavor.
I know an experience
Okay,
here.
so it was like last month for National Nutrition Month, and I said this story before. We were upstairs. I'm sorry, I forget where I'm at with Audie Murphy, but we were upstairs, and you were doing like a food demo, and one of the veterans had come to your class in the past, said so many good things about you, but the one thing that really stuck out, he's like, the one way you can describe your food is foodgasm. True story.
Yes.
Foodgasm.
Because you want to have an experience. We do eat with our eyes, but there's nothing worse, without having those layers of texture. We need to really lean into that, right? So it's something that you can continue. Otherwise, it's not sustainable.
That's right.
So we've got our salad done. And like I said, flip it to your liking. Now I'm going to switch to one of my absolute favorite things to do. We've all had the old school sweet tart. If you haven't, you need to go have it at least once. What am I talking about? I'm talking about that red, purple, yellow trio sweet tart. I guess the alternative would be a Smartie. I'm going to recreate that today. So, and it begins with these 3 ingredients. Here I've got some ground basil, has to be ground basil, equal parts of pure Vermont maple, right? So 2 tablespoons, overlapping 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. This is that key in ensuring when you go to the store, you get this beautiful strawberry and you're like, this is going to be so sweet and delicious. Not.
Nope.
This is when they become ingredients for my smoothie. This every time will ensure that you have these beautifully sweet strawberries. And so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut these. And it's important when you do cut these that you cut them so they're slightly thicker so they can absorb all the flavor. And ideally, you would want to sit this for about 15 minutes or so. The longer they sit, it'll really intensify. But it gives you this wonderful sweetness, and that's the beauty of utilizing balsamic vinegar.
Yeah, and strawberries are great just because, again, very colorful. The red just pops out. But again, antioxidants and they're also less sugar. So for anyone who does suffer from diabetes, all the berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries have a lot less sugar content, so they actually are appropriate for diabetics to utilize.
And I think that's important, because you have family members and you want them to be able to partake in it too.
Absolutely.
FOMO is a real thing. And so, we could keep doubling down on this. If I didn't want to just do strawberries, what else goes with this? Blackberries, blueberries, pitaya, also known as dragon fruit, kiwi. Don't sleep on kiwi. Kiwi. Like it's just, those layers of flavor here. And we're going to let this sit here. I've got a little bit more already cut up, ready to go. And when I tell you all of the flavor that's going to result from it sitting in this, balsamic vinegar is this beautiful way to bring all the sweet to the forefront. I encourage you to try this. So I'm going to let that sit. And while I'm letting that sit, I've already got my skillet on. I'm all about doing a great protein. So I'm going to be featuring a little bit of chicken, but this dish is great with salmon, halibut, flounder, haddock, scallops, turkey breast. You could just do this with just about anything. So all I've done here is I've got 3 chicken breasts. And the big thing with the chicken breast, any sort of protein, make sure you blotch your protein. It ensures it cooks evenly. We want to get the best flavor. Heat gives food texture and it really amplifies everything that you've intentionally added. So that's imperative. All I've got on here is a little bit of lemon zest. And I hit this with a little bit of olive oil. If you're doing 3 to 4 chicken breasts, we're talking a teaspoon. Distribute that so everything you overlap it with adheres. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. And this is where I talked about, are we going to add salt and pepper? We are, but anytime I'm doing roughly a pound, I try to lean over no more than a 1/4 teaspoon of salt because I really want to utilize my salt fires. And so for me, it's my OGCP. That is onion powder, granulated onion powder, if you can purchase that, granulated garlic, coriander, dried version of cilantro, and dried parsley for years, used to freshen your breath.
That should just be the staple in every kitchen. Like these ingredients right here, because you can't go wrong. Mixing them together, you cannot go wrong. And just kind of really doubling back on the chicken, because chicken, again, is a great source of protein. It's a complete protein, which means it has all the amino acids your body needs. Not only that, but it's also a great source of iron, right? And for a lot of us, some of us are anemic, which is a lack of red blood cells. And we know that having iron in our blood helps transport oxygen through our bloodstream. So we get more oxygen, we get more energy.
And it makes a huge difference. And then I'm overlapping this with a little bit of lemon zest. And this is such a big one. I will see people going to town on, zesting. Make sure when you're zesting, anytime you're seeing this white spot, it's really imperative to rotate this. And I say this because lemons have this beautiful sweet sour duality. If you can't, you go to the store, this is also the season to purchase a Meyer lemon. It's kind of your hybrid. But this is where lemon specifically, it brings all that salt to the surface. So if you intentionally try to add less, this is where it's going to help you.
I had a Meyer lemons for the first time again in this class.
I love you for this.
It was great. And what I love about zesting stuff like this is because lemons are a great source of vitamin C. But for those, again, who are anemic, adding a source of vitamin C to a high protein food actually helps your body absorb more of that iron.
See, and I mean, it's like the key, right? These little tricks are so important, and everything we've hit you with today are super high antioxidant rich foods.
Absolutely.
Because the older we get, right, in our 20s, right, we're setting up our stores, 30s, 40s, 50s, our bodies change.
We're getting ready. Just prepare yourself.
Yeah.
If we are lucky enough and blessed enough to get to a certain older age, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But it starts now. Yeah. So what I've done here is I went ahead, just like I smashed the garlic for my vinaigrette, I went ahead and smashed and minced 3 more. And what you see here is I've got these nice microscopic bubbles here. Anytime you're sauteing garlic, it needs very little time once you overlap it with heat. I'm talking a minute or so. But again, it's going to add to that flavor. And then protein you use, it really works as that sponge. So really take the time to do your due diligence here. So I've sauteed my garlic here for about a minute. And this is your key, but this also tells me I have good heat. Smashing garlic, it burns on arrival, so make sure we're working over low heat. I'm now going to add in my chicken breast, and anytime you're cooking, right, your skillet, your saute pan, whatever you're using, it needs to be reminiscent of a warm fire. Otherwise, you're really not going to reach that full level of potential of flavor. It is super important. And let's say you're that person that really leans into that sweet, that balsamic vinegar I used for my strawberries. You could also overlap that with your chicken, because today I am going to be utilizing a little bit of lemon juice. And this is kind of my big thing, because a lot of times people want to lean into like thighs.
Right.
I love a good chicken breast, but it's all about breaking down those muscle fibers. How do we do that, right? You'll hear people, they're cooking and they're utilizing wines. Wines are fine, right? Because all that alcohol evaporates, but it leaves all those intentional floral notes when that wine was created. But the beauty of using things like white wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, lemon juice, orange juice, right? It's going to, and vinegar specifically, it's going to help aid in that digestion, which goes back to our theme. This is that season to really do your due diligence, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so I'm starting to hear my chicken sizzling well. And anytime I'm cooking chicken, it's a knee-jerk reaction to start manipulating and moving your chicken around. I want that crust. I added no breadcrumbs here, very minimal salt.
Very minimal. And it looks like, honestly, when it's done, it looks like it's fried, honestly.
It does.
It does.
It's the
crazy.
trick here. We are searing, right?
Yeah.
We want all of that flavor. We're trying to ensure we're not leaning into those, trans fats and resubmerging where you're getting that release. Anytime I'm sauteing, if I'm searing, I'm going to hover between 1.5, no more than 2 tablespoons. If your skillet is getting too hot, that's where we lean into our acids, specifically citrus. Okay. So, I don't want to disrupt this too much. And so anytime you're doing this technique, when I get ready to flip this, that's where I'm going to hit it and lock in all that flavor, because this is that sponge base here. And then adding that citrus overlapping with the lemon or orange or Meyer lemon with that champagne vinegar, this is where we get this beautifully tender chicken breast. So don't sleep on your chicken breast,
No, absolutely
right?
not.
This can be just as tender as a chicken thigh if you're, in that bubble.
And again, adding chicken, great source of protein. So even with the salad that you just made, adding chicken, garbanzo beans, double portions of protein, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
this is what I love about this. And as I was introduced earlier, right? Dietitian, personal trainers, all blah blah blah, right? Sounds good. But it doesn't matter if you don't practice what you preach. And
yes.
with me, one thing that was introduced is that I actually am a professional bodybuilder. So when I say that, I am that guy who gets fake tans, puts on the short shorts, and parades on stage for like 5 minutes of flexing. I do that. But when I'm getting ready to prepare to get on stage to want to lose a certain amount of body fat, these are foods that I eat. It is stuff like this. It is not chicken, rice, and broccoli. That's boring.
Yes.
I look forward to my meals. And again, this doesn't lack anything. You got your proteins, you got your carbohydrates, you got your healthy fats, you have fiber, which we don't talk a lot about, but fiber is one of those nutrients that we don't get a lot of, and it does so much for us, right? It helps us obviously go to the bathroom, but it also helps regulates our blood sugars for sustained energy.
Yeah.
This has it all.
And that's the thing. So, even with our herbs here, I utilize the coriander, but you could have used some fresh cilantro here. Maybe, you're not a huge fan of, the onion powder granulated garlic. You could do an Italian seasoning mix here.
Yes, I love Italian seasoning.
Rosemary would work fantastic here. I've also got a little bit of fresh basil, because this is going to, again, speak to that beautiful, refreshing flavor, but also antioxidant rich. So one of my go-tos. I'm just going to roll my leaves here.
Anything with basil is just so good.
It adds that little extra kiss.
Yes, it does.
And I mean, you could tear these with your hands too. This is just more of that pretty effect. Oh, you all saw me flip my chicken, right? I hit it with the acid of the lemon. And all it does is really speak to tenderizing it. Now I'm going to circle back over. We've got our strawberries going here. I went ahead and did some ahead of time. Look at this. Look how deep and rich this is. And like if you wanted more of that sweet component, you're like, it's a little too, you need more of that sour kind of removed. You could also add a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar here. And once it coats your spoon, right, you'll get this beautiful kind of sweet, sour sauce here, which even further tenderizes. So, and overlaps. All right, so my strawberries are ready to go. Anytime you're cooking chicken this way, we're looking at about 5 to 8 minutes. With searing, you're looking for that white perimeter. And then anytime you're cooking chicken breast, we're wanting it to be at 165 degrees, right? I need it to glaze over that temperature. I'm going to go ahead, take my strawberries here. I mean, look at this. Look at how rich. And you see how the longer that this sits, how it really, and you can smell it. There's just something about that basil. And everything I did here, I doubled down. I used fresh garlic, but then I also used granulated garlic, right? If I was using ginger, I would do the same. Using those fresh as well as the concentrated, it's going to give you more depth. So I really encourage you to take the time to really be intentional about what you're eating. Take those spices out of your pantry and start utilizing those.
It's gorgeous. I mean, it really is just a celebration. When you look at the presentation alone, is a celebration, because you look at them like, I want to eat that. You know what I mean? Like, that looks so good.
This is all the things. All right, guys. I mean, and like I said, you want to do a little something extra. Overlap this with some blackberries, the pitaya, the kiwi. This is that season. Really start going to your stores and seeing what is available that's in season. It's in season. It's going to be less expensive, but it's going to really be packed with beautiful flavor here. Hit this with just a little bit more basil. And last but not least, I'm going to hit of sweet onions. They're slightly bigger than like your traditional scallion. I took these, sliced them thinly, and then put them in an ice bath, and it allows them to curl up. Same thing happens if you do this with asparagus and you just want a nice fresh salad. That's a beautiful way to have asparagus. This is it, guys. We're getting a little bit of everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we
Oh
did.
my goodness. Chef Lane and Richard, wow. I hope you'll take the time to read the comments. People were just wowed with the information you shared, the recipes you showed us. I think 14 people made a commitment to heal with food by making one of the recipes you just made.
Oh,
I
I love
cannot,
that.
That's awesome. Look at that.
Wow,
yes,
thank you
and
so much.
That's
I'm going
cool.
to show you something cool. Are you ready?
Yes.
Who was inspired by Chef Lane and Richard, and who's willing to share a recipe and do one small thing to heal with food that you learned about today? If you do, say, I commit. Say it out loud or put it in the comments. I commit.
I
I
commit.
commit.
I commit.
Oh, love
Ooh, it
that.
looks delicious.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Make food yours. It should be something enjoyable. It should be something you get excited about. Do
Yeah.
not feel like you're pigeonholed to lean into a recipe. Make it yours. Flip it, like I said, with what you have on hand. Utilize what's in season, and fuel your body, with the best ingredients.
Absolutely. All foods fit. Remember that. All foods fit.
I love that. All foods fit.
Yep.
I got
love
nothing
that.
else.
Thank you both so much. And Tamara behind the scenes, thank you. I'm so moved by this experience, and I can't thank the three of you enough for giving your hearts to us today, your expertise, and to our audience. Thank you for everything you do to serve our veterans, and please make sure to share the recipes and the information. Thank you all.
Thank you.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.